Welcome back. All right, so a long day of hockey is done. I have 14 games to review, and then we will take the first look at the standings board as well. Remembering it's very early. Keep that in mind too when I do the power rankings, which go live on the channel tomorrow morning. All right, starting things off, the Buffalo Sabres and the Boston Bruins. So it's Lyon versus Swayman in this one. Swayman's had a very good start to the season, and he gets some goal support at 15:48 of the first period. Zacha scoring from Harris and Peak. The one thing that stands out in that first period, Alex Lyon. Alex Lyon is the only reason this game's close after the first period, and he appeared to be the only Buffalo Sabre that showed up tonight. At least to that point in the game. So second period, still 1-0 until at 10:21, Kastelik has one that bounces 5 holes. So bit of a lucky bounce for the Boston Bruins, and unlucky bounces happen to the Buffalo Sabres. It is part and parcel of any Buffalo Sabres season. The assist on that one to McAvoy makes it 2-0 for Boston. That would be the score after 2. Third period, Buffalo does get on the board. At 9:46, Zucker buries one blocker side, the assist to Samuelson. So it brings about some optimism. Maybe Buffalo can change this. Things get punchy in the final 5 minutes. Obviously for the Sabres, it's very early in the season, but the frustration is completely understandable. So they would pull the goaltender, which means that at 19:57, Corrali hits the empty net for Boston, his first goal since returning to the Bruins. The assist to Elias Lindholm and Kastelik, meaning that the final score in this one is 3-1. The Boston Bruins off to a very strong start to the season. It is very early, 2 of those wins over Boston and Chicago, but it is notable. Your 3 stars are Swayman, Zacha, and Kastelik. Shots on net, 17-2 Boston in the first, 13-9 Buffalo in the second, 7-5 Buffalo in the third. Final shots, 31-22 for the Bruins. Power plays, both teams go 0 for 4 in this game. The hits, 32-25 for Buffalo. Lyon was excellent, 28 saves on 30 shots. Swayman, another good start for him, 21 saves on 22 shots. So maybe Boston's going to surprise some people. All right, next up, the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Detroit Red Wings. So Stolars versus Talbot in this one, and 2:27 in, it's a turnover, and Toronto puts it into the Detroit net. Yarncroke from Roy and Tanev. So 1-0 for Toronto, and it stays that way until 12:29 of the first period, where Roy is tipping in a point shot. Riley with another point, Nylander with the secondary assist. It's 2-0 Toronto. Things are going well for the Leafs. Things are not going well for Detroit. This has been a storyline for a while when it comes to regular seasons, right? But to Detroit's credit, in the second period, they start the comeback. At 8:56, Kasper puts one in from the slot on a nice pass. Kane setting that up. DeBrincat with the other assist makes it 2-1. Gets the crowd into it. Then at 14:55, Raymond buries a cross-crease pass. Larkin and Finney with the assists. I believe that is Finney's first National Hockey League point, and it ties the game at 2. It stays that way until late in the second period at 18:10. Kane scores. He's getting closer and closer to 500 goals, of course. The assist to DeBrincat and Johansson. So this is another cross-ice pass and in. A lot of goals scored that way in the NHL now. It is a way to basically make the goaltender move in ways that it's very difficult to move quickly. So after 2 periods of play, it's 3-2 for Detroit when Toronto had led 2-0 after the first period. But early in the third period, Domi puts one in from the slot. It was a screenshot as well, and it's on the rush. The assist to Morgan Riley at 2:38. So we have ourselves a 3-all tie. It does not stay that way. On the power play at 6:45 on a tic-tac-toe play, Raymond buries what is his 100th National Hockey League goal. Kane and DeBrincat with the assists. So DeBrincat on the board a few times with assists. And suddenly Detroit has a lead at 4-3. Toronto, some crack showing with Toronto here. And then the goalie gets pulled, and at 18:12, Edvinsson hits the empty net. Talbot with the assist. Toronto would pull the goaltender again, down by 2. And at 19:55, Andrew Kopp hits the empty net to make your final score 6-3 for the Detroit Red Wings. Big win for them. It is early in the season, but you don't want to go winless for too long. 3 stars are Raymond, Kane, and DeBrincat. Shots on net favored Detroit the whole way. 13-8 in the first, 15-9 in the second, 7-6 in the third. Final shots, 35-23 for the Wings. Power plays, Toronto 0 for 2, Detroit 1 for 4. The hits, 22-15 Toronto. Stolarz saves 29 out of 33. Talbot saves 20 out of 23. So overall, I mean, if you're a Detroit fan, you're probably feeling pretty good about this game. We'll see if they can build on this going forward. That has been the challenge, hasn't it? All right, next up, New Jersey and Tampa. So Markstrom versus Vasilevsky in this one. New Jersey would jump on them, and Tampa's got to start games a little better here. 8:26 in on their fourth shot. Meyer scores from Mercer and Hischier. That's the fourth shot for New Jersey. Tampa had one, and Tampa sat at one shot for a long time in that first period. In fact, they're still at one shot at 10:17 when Connor Brown tips in a net feed on a rush. The assist to Grzelcyk and Luke Hughes. So what does Tampa Bay do for an encore? They allow another. At 13:48, Hischier puts one in off Max Crozier's leg on a net feed, and Luke Hughes with the assist there. So it's 3-0 New Jersey. I'm pretty sure when that third goal went in, Tampa Bay still had one shot. Whatever funk Tampa's in, they've got to get out of this. It's 3-0 New Jersey after one. Tampa did kind of shake off that funk a little bit in the second period. At 7:31, Yanni Gourde wires one from the left circle on a rush point, and Crozier with the assist. So Crozier need to get an assist since one of those goals went in off of him. The Bolts score, but there's a high stick. So because of the high stick, they wave that off. It does not count. So Tampa does what I always say teams should do. Go out and get it back. They do. At 17:22, McDonough scores from Hagel and Crozier. So Crozier with a couple of helpers. And after 2 periods of play, the score is 3-2 in favor of New Jersey. But we know New Jersey's had struggles holding on to lead. And it's early in the season. Everybody struggles to hold on to a lead. So Tampa gets power play in the third period looking to tie it. Jesper Bratt has other plans. He scores shorthanded at 4:48 to make it a 2-goal lead. And then at 6:29, Connor Brown scores from Grzelcyk and Nemitz. So Grzelcyk with a couple of assists tonight. Connor Brown with a couple of goals. It is 6-2 in favor of the New Jersey Devils. Or it's 5-2 in favor of the New Jersey Devils at that point. I think I missed a goal 1 sec. No, I didn't miss a thing. Yeah, it was a 5 score. I don't know why I said 6. I'll blame that on the 4-hour sleep last night. At any rate, at 16:15, it becomes 5-3. There we go, 5 goals. It even says 5 right there. Anyway, Radish scores this one from Bjorkstrand and Gonsalves. So Tampa calls a timeout. They're on a 6-on-4 at that point. They're hoping for something, but in the end, the New Jersey Devils win 5-3. So New Jersey goes into Tampa and wins 5-3. The Tampa Bay Lightning are sitting winless after their first couple. They've got to get this together. Your 3 stars are Connor Brown, Hischier, and Bratt. Shots on net 16-2 for New Jersey in the first. I think that's what made my brain short out and think New Jersey had 6 goals. 7-6 Tampa in the second, 8-7 Tampa in the third. Final shots 29-17 for the Devils. Power plays, the Devils 0 for 4, New Jersey 0 for 3. The hits 27-25 for New Jersey. Markstrom 14 saves on 17 shots. He wasn't overly busy. Vasilevsky 24 saves on 29 shots. Vasi is not putting up Vasi-like numbers thus far. How far is this going to go? Tampa Bay's got to turn this around, right? I understand it's early in the season, but how soon does it become not early? Usually about 3 weeks into the season. And with how condensed the schedule is, you don't have the practice time now to get everything straightened out. All right, next up, Ottawa and Florida. Ullmark versus Bobrovsky. It's funny, too, because there's 5 goals for the winner in this, 6 goals for the winners of the other games. I think I had 6 on the brain. So it's 6:08. There's another 6. The Florida Panthers open the scoring against Ottawa. It's Marchand going backhand on a breakaway. Nice move there. Seth Jones with the assist. Panthers then score after the whistle, but they review it, and you could tell right away that goal was going to count because the puck never stopped moving. So, for continuation purposes, it counts. Rodriguez scores from Ekblad. That's at 9:54. Florida's ahead 2-0, but Ottawa fights back. 17:33. Pinto. After a turnover by Bobrovsky, a bit of an oops on his behalf behind his net. He did get back into the net, but Pinto still beats him, the assist to Ridley Gregg. So it's 2-1 for the Florida Panthers after the first period. Second period, Florida starts to pull away a little bit. 35 seconds in on the power play, Aaron Ekblad scores from Marchand and Jones. And then late in the period, the Florida Panthers score again to make the lead 3 goals. It's another power play marker. It's Lundell scoring. It's a point shot, or it's a screenshot that's tipped in by Lundell. Petrie and Verhaeghe with the assist. So at 18:26 of the second period, we have a 4-1 lead for the Florida Panthers. In the third period, it is another power play. You've got to stay out of the box against Florida because they score here again. It's Samoskevich roofing one from the side of the net. And it's the first 2 minutes of a 4-minute power play as well. The assist to Lundell at 5:29. Now, the Sens, to their credit, they did kill off the second 2 minutes, but the damage is done. Then at 11:14, off of a good forecheck, it is Florida. I may not be taking notes, but I did take note of a forecheck. Reinhart scores from the slot, Forsling with the assist. So at 11:14 of the third period, it is 6-1 in favor of the Florida Panthers. And I thought we were going to have a no mercy magnet. I was wrong. Pinto scores from Giroux at 17:36 to keep that no mercy magnet off the board and make the final score 6-2 in favor of Florida. So the Panthers stay perfect early in the season. Your 3 stars are Ekblad, Marchand, and Lundell. Shots on net, 9-8 Florida in the first, 9-7 Florida in the second, 13-9 Ottawa in the third. Final shots 28-27 in favor of the Senators. Power plays 0-2 for Ottawa, 3-5 for Florida. The hits 28-27 for Florida. Ullmark, 21 saves on 27 shots. Ugly stat night from Ullmark. And Bobrovsky, 26 saves on 28 shots. So he had a good night, and so did the Florida Panthers. All right, next up. Washington and the Islanders. So it's Thompson versus Sorokin in this one. And a minute and 50 seconds in. Fervari, what's he doing in front of the net? He buries a rebound and close. He scores from Ovechkin and Carlson. So that's what you expected. Fervari to be putting in the garbage goal at the net. Sure. It stays 1-0 until 13:51. Alexei Protas, who looks like he wants to increase from what were career highs last year. He wants to beat that this year. Protas scores from Chychrun and Wilson, and this is a chip shot by Protas after a failed clear by the Islanders, making it 2-0 in favor of the Capitals after 1. Second period, 9 minutes and 50 seconds in, so just before the halfway mark of the game, Leonard scores. Ryan Leonard gets a goal. It's past a screen from the slot. Chychrun and Protas with the assist. So Protas with a goal to go with or an assist to go with the goal he already had. Then at 15:30, it's an unassisted goal for Protas. So Alexei Protas doing a lot here, and it is 4-0 in favor of the Washington Capitals. But the Islanders will get on the board. At 18:51, it is Duclair with a wrister from the right circle. Horvat and Palmieri. The power play marker makes it 4-1. That's your score after 2 periods. Third period, 4:28 in, Matthew Schaefer gets his first National Hockey League goal, the assist to Palmieri and Horvat. Now, the Caps call a timeout. They review it. They do challenge for goalie interference. That challenge fails, so that makes it a power play for the Islanders, which the Capitals then kill off, and the Capitals end up holding on, winning this game 4-2 over the New York Islanders. The Islanders had a lot of opportunities, but Logan Thompson wanted to get his save percentage up, so there wasn't much they could do. With the 4-2 win, Capitals bounce back from a loss earlier in the week, so there you go. Your 3 stars are Protas, Fervari, and Schaefer. The shots on net, 9-3 Washington in the first, 14-13 Washington in the second, and then they were 20-6 for the Islanders in the third. So the final shots are 36-29 for the Islanders, which is a little deceptive. The game was not played where the Islanders had a lion's share of the better play, just that third period. They did control it. The hits, 33-23 for the Islanders. Thompson, 34 saves on 36 shots, very strong numbers. And Sorokin, 25 saves on 29 shots at the other end. Moving along, the New York Rangers and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Last time we saw these two teams play each other, the Pittsburgh Penguins shut the Rangers out in their barn. The Rangers remembered and went into Pittsburgh's barn tonight with that sort of idea in their brain. It's Shesterkin versus Shilovs, the same matchup we had the last time out. And 7 minutes and 40 seconds in during a Pittsburgh power play. This is kind of rude. You're not supposed to score shorthanded, but they do. The Rangers get a goal. It's Zibanejad. It's a cross-ice pass and in via a 2-on-1 rush. Carrick and Fox with the assists. So the New York Rangers with the 1-0 lead at that point. And honestly, of the early games, the first 8 games that were all on at the same time, that was fun. It was fun when there's goals in every game. Even though I'm not taking notes, that was a struggle. But this was the fastest of the early games. There were the Rangers-Pittsburgh game. Second period, 3:04 in. Kindle gets his first National Hockey League goal and ties the game at 1. The assist to Caleb Jones. So things are looking good for Pittsburgh until at 6:06, Fox goes short side pass to screen. The assist to Edstrom. So Adam Fox, who has struggled to get goals in some of his previous seasons, not this year, I think that's his second already. Then it's a power play marker at 9:25. Will Cooley tips one from in close. The assist to Sherry and Laba. And I believe that's Laba's first National Hockey League assist on that play. Nice to see Connor Sherry on the board as well. And it's 3-1. Stays that way until 16:38. It's another power play marker. And it is Fox again. So I think that's his third of the season. I think he had one coming into this game. The assists to Panarin and Miller. So JT Miller on the board. And it is 4-1 in favor of the Rangers. We go to the third. 5:40 in. Rempe scores. And I didn't think this was Rempe's goal, but last I looked, it still shows Rempe's goal. I thought somebody else put it in. Edstrom and Carrick with the assists. Now, the tricky part is Shea pushes Rempe into Shelov's, which is why they didn't challenge it. And I know there's probably going to be Penguin fans that feel like that could have come back, but I don't think so. The defenseman pushes him in. It's a crazy play by Shea that made it so there was no way Shelov's was going to stop that. Then at 14:12, there's a cross-ice pass on a 2-on-1 rush, and it's in the back of the net. Taylor Radish with his first goal as a Ranger. He scores from Laba and Parsonen. So the New York Rangers go into Pittsburgh, and they lay a beating on them of 6-1. So the no mercy magnets on the board for that. 6-1 win and all that. Your three stars are Fox, Edstrom, and Kindle. Kindle for being getting his first goal. Sort of like in the Washington game where Schaefer gets the third star because he got his first NHL goal. Shots on net, 9-4 Pittsburgh in the first, 14-3 for the Rangers in the second, and 12-7 Rangers in the third. Final shots are 30-27 in favor of the Rangers. Power plays, the Rangers 2 for 4, Pittsburgh 0 for 4. The hits, 30-14 for the Rangers. Shesterkin saves 18 out of 19. And Shelov's saves 24 out of 30. Ugly stat line after that shutout in his first game. It happens, though, and the Rangers are capable of doing that. Let's go to board number 2. All right, so 4 games on this board, 4 games on the next board, and then the standings, and then we're done. So, Philadelphia and the Carolina Hurricanes. This game ended up being a lot closer than I thought it would be. It was Ersson versus Anderson. Things get all punchy with 2:07 left. There wasn't a whole lot to write about in the game before that. Then at 19:38 on a power play, Tippett scores. It's wired from the slot on a bounce that was definitely Flyers bounce off a stanchion. The assist to Konechny and Zegras. So Zegras with a point. I think that's his first point as a Flyer. Makes it 1-0 for the Flyers after 1. That lead does not last very long into the second. Stankoven buries a rebound from the doorstep at 3:46. The assist to Blake and Nikishin. So Nikishin with another point. We have a 1-1 tie. However, Philadelphia bounces back at 6:18. Bobby Brink scores from Cates and Grabenkin, so he wires that one top shelf. The Flyers have their lead back at 2-1. The Carolina Hurricanes would bounce back. At 9:07, Hall tips one in via a 2-on-1 rush. The assist to Robinson there, making it 2-2. And then the Canes would get a lead towards the end of that first period or second period. Stahl at 18:30 scores from Martinook. He buries this one from the inner slot. That is his 299th career goal. So it is 3-2 Carolina. We're going to the third. It stays 3-2 until 16 minutes. Sanheim ties it. Yeah, Philadelphia showing some fight back tonight. Brink and Forrester with the assist. So Bobby Brink had himself quite the game. And then things are pushy at the horn. So these are division rivals that might have a rivalry this year. Either way, we go to overtime. So the Canes control early. But the Flyers score right to the point where where Tockett's out on the ice, and the game's done. However, they reviewed it and they did see goalie interference, and it was goalie interference. And as soon as that goal gets taken back, and it was Brink's goal as well, you knew what was coming next, didn't you? So at 4:43, not too long before we would have had a shootout, Jarvis puts one under the bar to win it for Carolina. The assist to Aho and Goss to spare. It's a 4-3 overtime win for the Carolina Hurricanes. Your three stars are Jarvis, Stahl, and Stankoven. Shots on net, 15-6 Carolina in the first, 12 apiece in the second, 11-5 Carolina in the third, and they had the only shot of the overtime since The Flyer shot doesn't count because it was goalie interference. Final shots 39-23 in favor of Carolina. Power plays, Philadelphia 1 for 3, Carolina 0 for 4. The hits 27-24 for Philly. Ersson saves 35 out of 39. Anderson saves 20 out of 23. And so Tocchet's going to have to wait a little bit longer for that first win behind the Flyers bench. But yeah, entertaining game at points? Sure. But if you want an entertaining game, how about Montreal-Chicago? So it's Montembeault versus Knight. The first period, tight checking, shots are at a premium, but there's some pushing at the horn. These two teams, for teams that aren't in the same conference or same division, they really didn't like each other by the end of this. So second period on a power play, at 2:45, Caulfield scores. He bats it out of the air. Bolduc and Suzuki with the assist. So they reviewed it because he batted it out of the air to make sure it wasn't above his shoulder or above the crossbar, and the goal counts. But Chicago gets it back. At 4:32, Rinzel goes top far corner from the right circle. His first National Hockey League goal, and a beauty at that. Teravainen and Nazar with the assists, so 1-1 tie. However, it's another power play goal for Montreal that would follow that at 5:45. It's Bolduc bearing a rebound and close. The assist to Caulfield. I didn't think Bolduc was going to score goals at this rate. I like Bolduc's game a lot. I had no idea this was coming. But then Chicago answers again, and it's a power play marker for them. At 9:14, Bedard scores from Nazar and Teravainen. So Bedard with, I think that's the second of the season. It was a pretty punchy game. Very much a punchy game. And in the first 40 minutes, Montreal had 9 power plays. So Chicago might want to cut back on the penalties just a little bit. But after 2 periods of play, it was 2-2. Third period, which saw more power plays. It felt like Chicago had a couple, and I think Montreal had another. It does make it difficult. You don't get that 5-on-5 play. You don't get that flow. But on a deflection, at 19:44, Montreal makes sure this doesn't go to overtime. Caden Gooley scores from Slavkovsky and Hudson to make it 3-2, and Montreal win this. Really silenced a Chicago crowd. Chicago is much better than their record. I'm just going to say that. Your 3 stars are Gooley, Caulfield, and Nazar. Shots on net, 8-6 Montreal in the first, 10-4 Montreal in the second, and then 12-10 Chicago in the third. Final shots, 28-22 in favor of Montreal. Power plays, Montreal went 2 for 10. Chicago went 1 for 4. Your hits, 22-16 Chicago. Montembeault, 20 saves on 22 shots. Knight saved 25 out of 28. But absolutely an entertaining game, considering Chicago isn't supposed to be very good. And I'm not saying they're good, but it feels like they're more competitive than last year. Yeah, maybe it's wishful thinking, sure, but it's allowed. I'm allowed to have a little bit of wishful thinking, right? Okay, next up, Utah and Nashville. It's Vejmelka versus Saros. I'm going to be honest, this was a game that I wanted to see more stuff that I could talk about. It was a very evenly played game. I didn't think it was an overly exciting game, but this is the way that a lot of teams are going to play this year, I think, because you're going to want to keep the scores close. As you can see, a lot of scores are close tonight, and last year we saw more one-game victories than ever in the NHL's history in a season, so I wouldn't be surprised if they eclipse that this season. So it stays scoreless until 2:21, and Utah would score early. Cooley puts in a cross-ice pass on a 3-on-1 rush. Gunther and Peterka with the assists, so there's JJ on the board. So they have the lead until 7:23 when Forsberg scores and Brady Martin has the assist. That's his first National Hockey League point. There are so many rookies this year, and I mean, I didn't say just rookies, good rookies this year in the NHL. So that makes it 1-1. That would be your score after the first. In the second period, it felt like every time I went to that game, there was a power play. If I was taking notes the way that I have in previous seasons, it just would have been power play killed off, another power play, this, and then 2 minutes, 4-on-4, that kind of thing. But the only goal of that second period was Haula at 13-13 from Evangelista and Marchessault. So Nashville has a 2-1 lead after 2 periods of play, and it felt like they were going to hold that lead and that was going to be good, the same as they did against Columbus. The Preds would score to make it 3-1, but that goal is offside. And Utah did not hesitate to challenge, meaning it's offside. At 11:35, Utah then ties it, and it's McBain. He scores from Dursey and Schmaltz. So all of a sudden we have a 2-2 tie, and we are going to overtime. Utah controls early, and they would score. Gunther scores at 2:56. Nashville never had possession of the puck. Utah controlled the whole overtime, and they win this one 3-2. So your three stars are Gunther, McBain, and Forsberg. Shots on net, 11-6 Utah in the first, 8-3 Nashville in the second, 8 apiece in the third, and Utah had the only shot of overtime. That's all they needed. A lot of booing because they kept cycling back. They were just waiting for the perfect play. They just kept cycling back at the neutral zone. Final shots, 23-22 for Utah. Power plays, 0-4 for Utah, 0-5 for Nashville. The hits, 21-20 for Utah. Vejmelka, 20 saves on 22 shots. And Saros saved 20 out of 23 at the other end. All right, moving along. Columbus and Minnesota. This is bonkers. The Minnesota Wild, a team which I have said for years can play a boring style of hockey. Not this year. This year, it's like if you took Powerade and Gatorade and Brondo and smashed them all together, it's that good. That exciting. At any rate, there's only one goal in the first period, though, and it's scored by Wood. Miles Wood scores from Aston Reese at 2:29. You have a 1-0 lead for Columbus after the first. I'm not explaining what Brondo is. You'd have to go look it up. Second period, 7 seconds in, Columbus makes it 2-0. Marchenko, who had himself a game, he wires it far corner, clearly on the rush. Voronkov and Provorov with the assists. So we have a 2-0 lead for Columbus and a very quiet crowd in Minnesota. Wild score, goalie interference? No. It was challenged, but it's not goalie interference, so that means it's power play for Minnesota. Eventually, they would score. I believe this was a 5-on-3 goal as well. Boldy scores from Eriksson Ek and Kaprizov at 6:18. Then we get another power play marker for the Minnesota Wild. One problem Columbus had tonight was staying out of the box. The other problem they had was killing penalties. Kaprizov scores a power play marker from Boldy and Tarasenko at 8:24. Minnesota's tied it, and this is a one-timer from a sharp angle. It's a beautiful goal by Kaprizov. However, Columbus would score to get the lead back before the period's done. At 18:48, it's Marchenko. I said he had himself a game. He scores from Voronkov and Werenski. So Columbus with a 3-2 lead after 2 periods of play. But the third period is just bonkers. Werenski scores at 1 minute and 11 seconds. He goes top shelf past the screen, so no chance for Gustafsson there. Fantilli and Sillinger with the assists. And then during a 5-on-3, it's a tic-tac-toe play, because of course it is. 5-on-3. Marchenko gets the hat-trick goal. Werenski and Jenner with the assists at 3:01. So Columbus building themselves a healthy lead. However, it's a power play marker that puts Minnesota back into this game. Buium with his first NHL goal. The assists, Eriksson Ek and Boldy at 9:54. Columbus gets it back. At 10:47, Fantilli scores from Jenner. Minnesota goes, oh yeah? And at 15:49, another power play marker. Columbus needs to stay out of the box against Minnesota, or just in general. Kaprizov scores from Rossi and Buium. So Buium with a goal and an assist tonight for Minnesota. The goalie pull happens with 2:45 left. 10 seconds later, Minnesota calls their timeout. Whatever they discussed does not work. At 18:33, Jenner hits the empty net. Coyle with the assist. 7-4 win. It's an 80s game, the first of 2 80s games we had tonight. And your 3 stars, Marchenko, Merzlikins, and Boldy. It is unusual for a goaltender to allow 4 goals and be a star, but in this case, it's accurate. Shots on net, 14-9 Minnesota in the first, 20-10 Minnesota in the second, and 18-13 Minnesota in the third. Final shots, 52-32 for Minnesota. So Columbus might want to shut down the other team's offense just a little bit, just a tad. The power plays 1 for 3 for Columbus, 4 for 8 for the Minnesota Wild. 4 for 8. The hits, 17-16 Minnesota, because everything was a penalty, so there weren't any hits. Merzlikins saved 48 out of 52, and Gustafsson 25 saves on 31 shots. In fact, this is why I don't give goals against average much thought. A goaltender can allow 4 games and have a really good game, and another goaltender could have a shutout and not get tested all night. That's why I don't pay as much attention to goals against average as I do with shootouts or shutouts or save percentage. Save percentage is what I'm looking for. I need to go to bed, and I've still got a power rankings ahead of me. Either way, let's go to board number 3 of 4. I have had people ask before, like, well, why don't you do the power rankings on Sunday then? Because the habit is to do it Saturday night, and I want it all done Saturday night. And then Sunday's kind of my quiet day, and then I don't have to worry about it on Sunday. So that's why. All right. Dallas and Colorado, one of the most entertaining games of the night. There were a bunch of them. It is early in the season, so we usually see scoring higher to start the season, as defensive systems may not be fully embraced by players. They may be in the learning phase. So it stays scoreless till 1851. Harley scores from Ranton and Lundqvist. And what's interesting is Dallas scores first. Colorado outplayed them badly in that first period. That was not a good period of hockey for Dallas. So them being ahead 1-0 after one felt kind of like highway robbery. So early in the second period, Colorado ties it. NHS, it's cross-ice passing in, and McKinnon and Malinsky with the assists at 3:54. We then had a fight between Hertzkovian and Colton, and the Colorado announcers wanted Hertzkovian to be called an instigator, and I know Landeskog wanted that as well. They didn't call an instigator; they just fighting for both of them. Then at 10:07, Brindley gets his first NHL goal. He buries a net feed, Olofsson and Drury with the assist, so Colorado has their first lead of the game at 2-1, but Dallas fights back. At 15:22, Bastian with his first goal as a member of the Dallas Stars. It's a net feed, he puts 5-hole, Lindell and Heiskanen with the assists. And then at 18:25, Robertson, it's a shot he tips top shelf. That makes it 3-2 in favor of Dallas after 2. We go to the third period, 34 seconds into the third period, and Lehkonen ties the game. He scores from McKinnon and Natchez. This is a cross-crease pass and in, obviously on a rush, 34 seconds in and all. But then at 1:58, it's a turnover, and Johnston buries one. Nice deke in close on Wedgwood as well on the breakaway, and Dallas has their lead back. But don't worry, Colorado scores again. On the power play, McKinnon scores from Natchez and Burns at 10:46. I did see an article today that talked about how Natchez might be pricing himself out of Colorado being able to keep him past this season. Yeah, he's putting up a ton of points. So we have a 4-4 tie. We're going to overtime. The Stars controlled early. Nothing happened in the overtime. I would love to tell you it was an exciting overtime. It was not. We go to a shootout, and in the shootout, Dallas gets goals from Robertson, and of course, it's Mikko Rantanen. I guarantee there are Colorado fans watching the game that goes, yeah, Mikko gets the winner. Of course he does. So Dallas wins in a shootout 5-4. Your 3 stars are McKinnon, Nelson, and Harley. Shots on net, 14-5 Colorado in the first, 8-6 Colorado in the second, 16-11 Colorado in the third. They had the only shot of overtime, didn't go in. Final shots, 39-22 in favor of the Avalanche. Power plays, Dallas 0 for 2, Colorado 1 for 5. The hits, 19-17 for Colorado. Ottinger saves 35 out of 39. Wedgwood saved 18 out of 22. So, entertaining though. Very entertaining game. All right, next up, Vancouver and Edmonton. So it's Demko versus Pickard. This first period would have featured numerous goals. In fact, this game would have been a blowout if it wasn't for the fact that Demko stood on his head numerous times. Any Canuck fans that were concerned that Demko was going to be hurt, I know we're early. I know. I'm not trying to jinx it. I swear I'm not. But Demko looked excellent tonight, and he looked really good in the first game of the season as well. So it's scoreless after the first because Demko. Second period, 12:21 in, so over halfway through the game, and Philp wires one on a 3-on-2 rush to make it 1-0. Kapanen and Podkolzin with the assists. It stays 1-0 until during the 4-on-4 late in the period at 19:09, Mangiapane scores to make it 2-0. So it's 2-0 in favor of Edmonton after 2, and Vancouver hadn't really shown up. They had 9 total shots at that point. But to Vancouver's credit, they were a little better in the third, at least to start. 47 seconds in, Besser turns and fires one from in close to get on the board. Hughes and DeBrusk with the assists. So there's Quinn Hughes' point. I believe that ties him with Edler amongst the all-time list for Canucks defensemen, but it's still 2-1 Edmonton. And then what's up with Tyler Myers? I'm not sure why he wasn't called for spearing Connor McDavid. I don't know if that was a cup check or what it was, but what the hell? Like, it's a 1-goal game. There wasn't a call either. He's lucky. I don't know if Department of Player Safety is going to get involved tomorrow. They probably should. And I say that as a Canuck fan. I just, watching it, I was like, what the hell? And you could see McDavid was upset, and it's legit. Like I said, maybe it's a cup check, but like when I worked in a plant where we had steel-toed boots, there was a supervisor that I could say, I don't think they're wearing steel toes, and he'd go over and step on their foot. And if they said, ow, that meant there was no steel toes. This is sort of like that, but it's a stick right between the wickets. Anyways, I don't know what Myers was thinking there. Demko's the only reason this game's close. The goalie pull happens to make it a 6-on-4. The Canucks run the power play, so it's a shorthanded empty netter for Leon Draisaitl of the Oilers. Nurse and McDavid with the assists at 18:47. The Canucks pull the goalie again. They call a timeout as well, but the Oilers hold on. They win this one 3-1. Your 3 stars are Philp, Demko, and Mangiapane. Shots on net, 14-4 Edmonton in the first, 14-5 Edmonton in the second, and then 9-6 Edmonton in the third. Final shots, 37-15 for the Oilers. And those shots are accurate. That is how the game went. Your power plays 0-2 for Vancouver, 0-5 for Edmonton. The hits 26-22 for Vancouver. That power play would have been 2-5 if it wasn't for Demko. Demko saved 34 out of 36. Pickard saved 14 out of 15. He wasn't busy. He was good. He wasn't busy. So there we go. All right. Next up, the Anaheim Ducks and the San Jose Sharks. The first game that has needed more than one cell on the board so far this year. I didn't anticipate this many goals happening in a game. This is rare. Mrazek versus Askarov, 3 minutes and 40 seconds in. It's a one-timer from the slot by Tyler Toffoli. Smith and Celebrini with the assists. So 1-0 San Jose. And then at 11:12, Ryan Reeves scores on a nice net drive. Where did that come from? Like, might be the nicest goal he's ever scored. Could very well be. But Anaheim seemed to be jazzed by that. At 11:53, it's Gauthier scoring from McTavish and Gudas, and then they would tie it on the power play. At 15:14, it's Seneca. He kicks it to his stick and buries it. Nice goal scorer's goal there. The assist to McTavish and Zellweger. We then had a fight between Johnston and Reeves, so 2 of the older enforcers in the game. And for Reeves, he was just an assist away from a Gordie Howe hat trick. He would not get there. It's 2-2 after 1. Second period, Ferraro would score at 5:21, burying a rebound to give San Jose their lead back. The assist to Smith and Celebrini, but Anaheim ties it again. At 6:19, Killorn wires one glove side on a fast break. Granlund with the assist. Nice goal by Killorn there. So San Jose gets power play. It becomes a 5-on-3, and it was a long 5-on-3, so they scored on it. Klingberg with a one-timer from the high slot. His first goal as a member of the Sharks. The assists, Celebrini and Smith. That's at 10:34. So we have a 4-3 score, and we're barely halfway through the game. Then at 17:13, another power play marker for San Jose, and it's Adam Gaudette. I believe this is his first goal as a Shark. The assist to Wenberg and Orlov. However, at 19:29, also on the power play, Chris Kreider answers for Anaheim. So we have a whole bunch of goals, and we still have a period of hockey left. Early in that third period, early-ish anyways, at 5:34, Jeff Skinner gets his second goal as a Shark. He scores from Dellandrea and Orlov. So San Jose with a 2-goal lead. Things should be good. They should have learned from what happened against Vegas. Anyways, at 10:29, Gauthier with the second goal of the game. He puts it from the slot. It was a good forecheck that set it up, too, by Anaheim. McTavish and Seneca with the assists. I believe that's Seneca's first NHL assist. The goalie pull happens with 1:40 left. You know the drill. It's early in the season, but it looks like this is going to be a thing. At 19:09, Kreider scores during the 6-on-5. He buries a rebound. Carlson and Terry with the assist. So getting Kreider seems to have been a good decision for the Anaheim Ducks thus far, and we're going to overtime. The Sharks control early, and then Celebrini's going to learn. It's just one of those things where you get a little overzealous, and I believe he turned it over to Carlson. It's Carlson or Granlund, because they're the guys who combined on the goal. I think it was Carlson took the puck from him. But Carlson gets the goal on a 2-on-1 turnover rush with Granlund at 45 seconds. So Anaheim comes back from 2 goals down in the third. They win this one 7-6 in overtime. During this game, I even said to my wife, I said, if San Jose wins this, that's not great for Anaheim, because San Jose is supposed to be further along, or Anaheim's supposed to be further along in the rebuild than San Jose. Your 3 stars, Celebrini, Smith, and Carlson. Shots on net, 14-7 Anaheim in the first, 15-10 Anaheim in the second, 13-6 Anaheim in the third, and they had the only shot of the overtime. That's all they needed. Final shots, 43-23 for Anaheim. Power plays, both teams went 2 for 4, so neither team had a great penalty kill. The hits, 24-21 for San Jose. Mrazek saved 17 out of 23, not his best game. I don't think it was Askarov's best game either at 36 saves on 43 shots. But it's done, and it does mean that it was an entertaining game. Sloppy? Yeah. Entertaining? Sure. All right, last game of the night, I promise, is Vegas and Seattle. It was Hill versus Decord, and I thought that first period was very evenly played. I don't think we've seen Vegas play their best yet. And going into a power rankings tonight, it's something I do have on my mind. Like, how do I grade teams this early in the season? Vegas can't be at the top of a power rankings with how we've seen them play so far. So second period on a power play at 7:58, Beniers puts one around Hill and close. It was a nice goal. The assist to Eberle and Dunn. And that's the only goal through 2 periods of play. So San Jose controlling Vegas, I thought, as well as any team really can. Then in the third period, it's a power play marker. Vegas ties it. Dorofeev, who is red hot, scores from Stone and Eichel at 4:11. It's a one-timer on a pass from behind the net. That ties the game at 1, and that'll be it. That's it until we get to overtime. The Kraken, then, they control the puck early, and we had kind of a bonkers overtime. And in the end, Seattle gets the goal. At 4:56, McCann buries his own rebound. Beniers and Dunn with the assists. Seattle wins 2-1 in overtime for the first time in their history. They've won their first couple of games to start the season. 3 stars, McCann, Beniers, and Decord. Shots on net, 9-7 Seattle in the first, 10-4 Vegas in the second, 7-2 Vegas in the third, and then 7-3 Seattle in the overtime. They weren't letting this one go. Final shots, 27-22 for the Golden Knights. Power plays, both teams went 1 for 3. The hits, 30-22 for Seattle. Hill saves 20 out of 22. Decord saves 26 out of 27. All right, so this is what the standings look like at this point. Now, you'll notice these gloves here. This is Thanos' glove. Since half of the teams missed the playoffs, Thanos' glove will be used to mark off where the playoff line is. We're very early in the season for me to be worrying about the playoff line. So, just a couple of notes here. Vegas has only won 1 of their first 3, but they haven't lost in regulation yet, so they're still getting points. Seattle's won their first couple of games. They are leading the Pacific Division currently. The Oilers 1-0-1, Vancouver and Anaheim 1-1. San Jose's lost both games in extra time, but they've got points. The Kings and the Flames bringing up the rear in the Pacific Division. In the Central, it is Colorado ahead. They have 5 points in 3 games, but Dallas has won both of their games. So they're only 1 point back with a game in hand. Not that the games in hand are a big deal when you've got 80 games left. Nashville's 1-0-1, so much better start for Nashville so far. Minnesota, Winnipeg, St. Louis, Utah, all of them 1-1, and Chicago 0-2-1. The 1 point in 3 games is not telling you. Chicago's playing pretty well. So it is very early, and I did get these standings directly from the NHL site. Florida is the leader in the Atlantic. They're 3-0. Boston is also 3-0 to start the season. Montreal 2-1. Toronto, Detroit, and Ottawa are all 1-1. Tampa Bay and Buffalo are tied. If I had told Buffalo fans at the start of the year, hey, you guys are going to get off to the same start as Tampa, 2 reactions. Either, wow, so we're going to have a good starter. That's really a shame for Tampa. Depends on the Buffalo fan, but yeah, Sabres are 0-2 to start things off. The Metro, it is Carolina leading the way, 2-0, 4 points. The Rangers and Pittsburgh, both 2-1, 4 points. Columbus, Washington, New Jersey, all 1-1, so 2 points for them. Philadelphia, 0-1, so they have a point from tonight's loss against Carolina. And the Islanders, 0-2 to start the season. So it's very early, but it is going to be interesting to see how these standings change over the coming weeks. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. It's greatly appreciated. I will talk to you again soon.